Today in Michael's Corner, we're going to be covering something really cool, something you have almost guaranteed to be curious about at some point in your life, and that is, how the heck do we go about pricing your home? Do we just look at some neighbors? Is it all about price per square foot? And if it's all about location, how does that factor in exactly? We're going to answer these questions and so much more on this episode of Michael's Corner, so please be sure to click that like button and let's get to it. So let's start with getting the obvious out of the way. Yes, your neighbors do factor into this, but unless your neighbor has the exact same curb appeal, same floor plan, same interior colors and finishings and cabinets and counters and land facing and backing onto the same thing and just finished selling in the last 60 days, then we're gonna need to do some work to get that pricing spot on. And this is such a critical step. My team and I are known for our industry-leading marketing for our clients, but all the marketing in the world won't sell a home that's way overpriced. Today's buyers are too savvy, and chances are you know someone who sat on the market for 4, 5, even 6 months with no offers, let alone a firm sale. So to do this right, there are a ton of factors that we need to consider when we position your home in the market. Now, this isn't in any particular order, and some items can outweigh others. But with that out of the way, let's start with number one. Okay, number one is comparable or comps. Now we're gonna look at similar homes that have just been on the market recently. And to be clear, we're looking at not just current listings, sometimes referred to as actives, but solds and pendings and expireds as well, as they all have their role to play and a story to tell. So what makes it a good comparable? In an ideal world, a great comparable is gonna have similar style, location, preferably with similar features as to what it backs onto. They're gonna have a similar size, similar number of beds and baths, similar age and quality of interior, and of course, sold recently. Now, once we have a good cast of comparables, we can start to get a rough idea of where that pricing will be. However, to truly start to narrow down that range, we wanna factor in their story, if you will. If it's an active, how long has it been on the market for? Have they been reducing their price? Did they let it get stale? Is that the reason it hasn't sold? Is it due to poor or no marketing? Maybe the home is just horrendously out of style. There could be any number of indicators that we can decipher. If the home has expired, well, why? While you can't always tell, often you can get a pretty good idea on why these poor homeowners weren't able to sell their home. Now, the category we put the most weight into are pendings and solds. And why is that weighted so heavily? Well, the easy way to look at it is, well, somebody has actually put up their own money and said, yes, I agree that the home is worth this much, please take my money. After all, you can technically ask whatever you want for your home. So try not to get too excited when you see your neighbor's home go up at a price way higher than you would have guessed. Wait until you see that sold sign pop up. On a side note, price per square foot can be a useful tool here. If you're lucky enough to have a very similar comparable, a great way to get a loose ballpark of your price is to start looking at the price per square foot. But it does typically have a range of about 7%, so don't put too much stock into it. Side note here, sometimes we do have the scenario where no reasonable comparables exist to start us off. And this is a complex topic worthy of its own video, so we're not going to cover that here today, though I'll likely cover that at some point in the future if enough people ask for it. So after a deep dive into the comparables, we've got our starting point. Now we're going to widen that scope a bit and start looking at number 2, the home itself. And yes, I do hear you, but Michael, didn't we just cover that in the comps? And the answer is, well, yes, but really no. A lot of things are considered at this stage, and this area can leave a lot of room for interpretation, as some of it is just something that can't be measured and compared like a square footage. So opinions can and will vary on how much each of these affects the price. Did you know homes are very much like clothes in that they can come and go out of style? I'll give you a great example. Right now at time of filming, it's all about the white kitchen. Everybody wants white kitchen cabinets with even light countertops and a simple backsplash to boot. And worth noting, this was a complete sin even just a few years ago when it was all about the dark stained cabinets. And before the dark stain, we had our long love affair with the light and natural stains. Spend enough time doing this and you can often guess the age of a home with nothing more than a quick look and glance at the color and the materials they chose on the inside. But it's not all just colors and material selections that we're looking at here. Let's take a look, for example, as you already know, current home buyers in Calgary are by and large looking for open concept homes. Whereas in the 90s, it was all about what we're now calling the traditional setup with the segmented layout, often 2 TV rooms, your living room and family room, and 2 eating areas with your formal dining room and your breakfast nook all on the main floor. So how does that affect pricing? I'll give you a really cool example. In some Calgary communities, there are homes that are at an age and with the right location where we're starting to see every home get either fully or heavily renovated. And looking at this, we can actually see how this affects the pricing in real time. You see, some sellers will go as far as to open up the home, start tearing down walls, and turn it into a modern open concept, while others will take a simpler approach and simply do a surface renovation, leaving the original layout intact. And you can actually see a measurable difference in the demand and price it's sold for. It's actually honestly fascinating. So some of the other things that we look for: finishings, colors, layout, shape of the home. Is it pristine? Is it a dump? Is it somewhere in between? How old are the furnace, the hot water tank, the roof, and the windows? Are there any unique features, both good and bad? And is there anything that could change a buyer's mind either for or against the property? We're looking at all of that stuff and attempting to attach numbers to each individual segment, either increase or decrease the price. But what about location? That's the thing we've all heard more times than we can count, right? Well, yeah, location does play a huge role in valuing the home. Come on. Would you rather buy a home backing onto a nice green space with a view, or that same home backing onto a 4-story condo complex? Obviously, the green space is the way to go, all other things being equal. But would you pay more for that green space? And if so, how much more? Or what about being close to public transit, or a school that your kids can go to, or a spot that has lake access? All are great scenarios where we must determine exactly how much value to add or subtract based on exactly where the property is located. Obviously, that gets into a lot of territory, so we're going to keep that one a little short and sweet. Okay, so moving on to market conditions. We are looking at both macro and micro aspects here. So for the macro, some of the things we're considering: Calgary's market as a whole, the consumer confidence levels, where the demand trends are, interest rates and their presumed trajectory. Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they staying flat? Because that does affect people's mindsets. How active is this section of the market right now? For example, a townhome in the 300s is going to be a very different story than a luxury home on the West End. Now, once we've painted the bigger picture with all that info, we're going to start to focus on some of the more micro aspects, such as general sales of this product type in this area. Are sales increasing or are they slowing down? Inventory levels of similar homes nearby are definitely something we're going to be factoring in. Are we offering an in-demand product with little to no competition at the moment? Or are we the 15th townhome that's up for sale in this complex and it was only sold originally with 3 possible layouts? Going to market blind here is either a recipe for disaster or a big old pile of missed opportunity. All right, and number 5, now that we've got the price figured out at a technical level, now we need to figure out our pricing strategy. And yes, you heard me correct. To do this at a high level, there are different strategies to consider when determining the price to actually list your home at. Now, these strategies can mean the difference between a sold home and one that just sits on the market getting stale. So we're actually going to be covering that in next week's episode, because pricing strategies is a topic all of its own. So be sure to click that page like button and follow us so you don't miss out. My name is Michael Smith. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always make sure to have somebody looking out for your best interests.